In a recent video, we discussed scripts, right? And kind of when we boil it down to it, it's truly just the language of sales, of knowing what to say, when to say it, and how to say it to help your business and help your lead conversion. So in this session of MasterREMinds, we just kind of dive a little bit deeper into session 2, and I hope you find it helpful and beneficial to your business. Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to continue talking about scripts today, because I think the big thing in this market is you have to have these scripts down. A lot of things are changing right now, not only with sellers, but with buyers, with investors. It's what I like to call we're in the whitewash. Somebody else explained it the other day in a different way. The way that they explained it was we're having a oh shit moment in real estate, where it starts off with denial by everyone. Then they say, why can't you sell my house? Or why should I buy a house? Then they say, oh shit, maybe things are changing. And then the fourth stage is, okay, can you get it sold for me? Or can you find me a foreclosure or a great deal? And that's the whole cycle. So that's how the cycle was explained to me. I thought it was somewhat comical because everybody's on edge about everything and so forth. So we got some great masterminds on today with us. Mitch Ryback, the master, otherwise known as the godfather of online leads, out of Cocoa Beach and Merritt Island, Florida. I have my really dear friend Gil DeMarco join us today from beautiful Sacramento. She is the queen of luxury up there. We have Brian Yarber. He's still out in Montana fly fishing. Bobby, the best here in the business, Martins, is here. Look, he's got his fancy golf shirt on. His hair looks unbelievable. He's getting ready for the new Elvis movie that's coming out in 2 weeks. We got Lurchy from Philly. He's in his new office. It's all white, so he wears white all day so he can blend in with the walls. There it is. Look at, whoa. And then you got Dennis. He's got his board full behind him with a guitar, so he's trying to play a new tune. We got Matt Battiata. He's not bragging. He's just applying for a job. There he is. And Randy Zimnach with CT Homes. He's making it happen, but he's still on the beach in Bali, even though he has a 9-month-old. So we have a lot of interesting people on today to kind of share their points and give us some direction on the best scripts to use, the objections they're getting right now, and how they're isolating those objections and getting people to move forward and buy houses or sell their house. So I want to start with Mitch. Mitch, I know you've been through a market like this before. You've been in real estate now for over 20 years. So what are you seeing in the marketplace? And when a market is in the whitewash like this, what skill set do you need? What are you seeing on getting buyers to move forward when they think they're paying too large of a price or buying at the top of the bubble, and when sellers still think the frenzy's going on and don't want to accept reality?
So there's a few different things. And one of them is setting expectations, like always with my sellers. When I talk to my sellers, I just had a listing appointment the other day, which was fun. I have the weirdest listing appointments. You guys, I need a video of my listing appointments, because basically it's just stand-up comedy for an hour. But they want the house is 1.4 million, which is a great price here. And they say, well, we expected to get 1.5, 1.6, but we're listed at 1.4. I go, well, that ship sailed. And they're like, what do you mean? I go, well, that ship sailed about 30 days ago. And this price range, now they're actually staying on the market a little longer. And I actually took out my computer and showed them. I'm a visual guy. That you don't want to fake it with them or pretend. You can always show them what's going on. So I just took out my computer and showed them. Same thing with buyers. It's an education process. You're still paying, depending on your price range. If you're in the medium price range, you're still going over asking here. And now it might be different where other places are, but where we are, our median price range is, I think, 365, 370. If you want a $350,000 house, you're still in the 375 range. We're still having multiple offers on that. But as soon as you start getting up into the 6, 7, 800s, we're starting having that. So most of it's setting expectations. And also with regards to the market shift, agility is your best friend. And what I saw in the last crash is, and I'll give you an example. In the last crash, I just started my brokerage, and it was 2006, January 2006, because we crashed first here in Florida, especially, but particularly my county. and we saw the market crashing, and I saw the market crashing. We had 100 listings, none had sold for like 3 or 4 or 5 months, and I said, you know what, we're gonna shift, and we went to 0 listings taken at that point, and just concentrating on buyers. Everybody told me I'm going to lose my company, I'm going to go out of business. Well, while I was watching everybody else go out of business, I grew 20% a year during the market downturn. And the reason being is because as an entrepreneur, not just a real estate guy, I'm smart enough to know to shift my marketing and shift my business model. So you have to, when the market's changing, you have to be agile and shift to the market. Like right now, it's a seller's market still. So we're really concentrating on listings. But when the market starts to shift, when our rates go back up to 8 to 10%, which unfortunately, I hate to say they're going to do that. I actually believe they're going to do that. You're going to see a huge shift in the market. I know, but they're going to be 7 by the end of the year. You'll see. Anyway, so that's on that part.
Give me some good news. Good news, Mitch, today. This is a Thursday. Positive news. Let's go.
Oh, okay. So the good news is that my first house, I bought it 14% and had no problem with it. I was excited. So and remember, when I got the business in 2001, it was 8%. That wasn't a bad rate. We sold tons of homes. I want to give you a couple of scripting things for your emails that are really important. So in your databases that you're sending listings to, this is the most powerful one that I've ever used, and it works. Still our best one today is just checking in, making sure you're getting my updates. Let me know if there's anything to do that I can help. Remember, I can show you any property in wherever you are. That's really important to end with that line, because a lot of people think that you only work wherever your town is. Like, so that's really powerful. That still gets our best response from our internet leads. And then the other one we get when we're doing our circle of influence leads is end it like this. As you know, as a realtor, I work by referral only, and I can really, really use your help. If you know someone looking to buy or sell a home, please send me their contact info. Never ask people. There's 2 things there. Really, really is a very powerful psychological thing. I don't get it, but I was told that, and it works amazing. So I really, really use your help. People that love you want to help you. They will help you. And then the asking them to send you the contact is you don't want them to give their name to your name to their friend, because they're never going to call you. You want to get the name. Right? So those are my 2 scripting things that I use on my emails that work really, really well. Get phenomenal results on them, because people that like you will help you. And just checking in, make sure they just let you know it's the simplest. It's kind of funny. I came up with that in 2001 when I started my drip campaigns, and it's the only thing that stayed consistent and still today the only one that gets a ridiculous response rate. Thanks for checking. Have a nice day.
I like the really, 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 really. Can you help me?
It's really, really good.
It is really, really good. That's good. All right, I'm going to go from Mitch. I'm going to go down to Bobby, because he's pacing. He's moving back and forth. I don't know how many cups of coffee he's had this morning, but he looks fired up. He was in his office. He was out of his office. He's back in his office. We got to catch him while he's not in motion. Bobby, so what scripts are you guys using on the regular right now, and how are you navigating the market? I know it's shifting pretty quickly. So what are you seeing?
So first off, I think it's important not to predict where the market's going. I think you lose credibility by saying, I think it's going to do this. I think rates are going to go 8 to 10%. Bullshit. It's not going to 8 to 10%. I can guarantee you that. And to say that to somebody, I mean, obviously that's a big prediction. My thoughts on the market, where things are going, when you look at rates and you look at, you keep hearing recession, even though people throw it around like they know what they're talking about, but it's 2 quarters in a row of negative GDP growth. And we just had a huge quarter of GDP growth. So I really don't understand why people keep talking about recession so much. It's almost like they're trying to tank the markets, just like they always do. So, it looks like the media industry is trying to push everything down. Bitcoin, a stock market, housing, they're trying to push it all down. But what people don't realize, in the last 12 months, 40% of the United States money supply was printed. 40%. So you got eggs, milk, cars, you name it. Everything is going up in value and costing more. So what makes people think that real estate values are going to crash when everything else is going up like this, why would real estate crash? Now, if rates do go up to 8 to 10%, then yes, we will have some tough times. However, if we do hit a recession, what do you think is going to happen? The Fed's going to lower the rate and the rate will go down. And so I really don't believe, hell is coming. A lot of people do. But I think it's important to, when someone asks you, is it a good time to buy right now? I always say it really depends. Let's talk about your situation, because it's not a macro thing. You can't, if you lose all credibility when you say to somebody, yes, it's a great time to buy, because that's just the standard response that every realtor seems to do. And so it's critical to say, let's talk about your situation. Tell me about your current situation. Do you own? Do you rent? Are you, hold on one second. It's feedback here. One of my teammates in the other room, I could hear myself. So, so if they're renting, then how much are you paying in rent? And, what's your tax base look like? What are you paying in taxes? All those things. So you got to look at it from a macro situation. Plus, I'm always telling everybody, don't buy for a 2-year hold, buy for a 5 to 10-year hold on anything you buy. So it doesn't matter. Robert Allen has a great quote: you don't wait to buy real estate, you buy real estate and wait. And that always is true. If you bought a house in 2005 at the peak of the market, that house has now almost tripled. Okay. And here we are, 17 years later. So, it's not about, about timing the market, and rates are really low right now. So I think the critical thing to do is to be getting people into an adjustable rate mortgage, a 5, 7, or 10 year, because that's going to bring the rate down. And then I believe when we do hit a recession, if we do, then rates will come back down lower to where they are now. And so that's a huge thing on the seller side. Obviously you got, Mitch, you had a great line last week. I can't remember it, but it was something about, capturing your equity. A lot of people have made a lot of money, and then you also have to go into their tax situation. How much are they going to pay in taxes if they sell their house now? Or are they going to pay 0 in taxes because their gain isn't over 250 for single and 500 for married people? So, there's a lot of different things going on, but, I believe that the market's a lot better than most people think. We still are getting multiple offers. I got a listing in PB that has 6 offers on it and is about 60 or 70 grand over asking. Last week, we put one in escrow 100 grand over asking. The problem that the real estate industry has right now is when agents are going in to get listings, they are getting steamrolled by the seller saying, I want this price. Well, ma'am, that price is 10% higher than the last comp. You are aware that they've raised the interest rates, right? And so now payments are now this for your house. And I think that's a really critical thing. You got to show people the payment that they're paying to buy their house, because most people will look at that payment and say, I would never pay that for my house. And so that will get them down a little bit on the price, in my opinion. We've been using the trade-in option a lot. That's giving people options. We're getting people pre-approved to buy a home first. And I think it's just if a storm is coming, what you have to do is get people settled for the long haul. And that's the big key. Are you going to be able to live in this house for 5 years or more, is what I always tell every seller. And if they say yes, then great. Don't sell. Don't worry about it. Keep if you love the house, stay here. But if you look at, like especially empty nesters, you got kids graduating from school in the fall, might be a good time to go ahead and sell your house right now and get settled into a long-term fit for you, instead of waiting for the market to crash and then come back up again. And that could take 7 to 10 years to happen. And so, we always kind of talk about that kind of stuff, but I think, again, it's just, you got to really look at each individual, and that's the most important part. And then from circle prospecting, that's a huge thing right now. Everybody should be doing that. And then here's a little tip that everybody should be doing right now is call people up that are past buyer leads, whether they're 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, whatever, two years, doesn't matter. We've been putting everything into pawns in our CRM and having the agents call those pawns. And instead of calling and saying, did you buy, call, and the first question you ask is, you basically say, hey, this is Bob Martins over here at eXp Realty. A while back, you reached out to us about some real estate. And I just wanted to find out, have you heard about the recent market shift? Okay. And again, I don't believe we have truly had a market shift. We went from bananas to a normal seller's market. I mean, that's what's happening right now, but people are overreacting and getting really nervous, in my opinion, because of the dumpster fire administration that we have in Washington. It's making everybody nervous. It's making everybody freak out. Prices are going up everywhere because of incompetence. Okay. I think the fundamentals of our economy are strong, and especially here in San Diego. I mean, again, everything's local. What is here is much different than in other cities, but San Diego's on the uptick. So I think it's important to show people what's going on, show them the stats. And then here's the last thing I'll leave you with is look into the millennial data that's out there. Millennials now are at 33 years old. And for the next 7 years, one of the biggest population groups are going to be at prime buying years. And this is why we have no inventory. Okay. So when you look at that, and then you look at, we don't have any inventory, and most of these millennials coming into the market, they don't have a house to offer. Your boomers have a house to offer the market, and then they're buying another one. So that's a wash. Okay. But your millennials are coming in and buying up everything. And unfortunately, they might end up getting a bag of bad goods. I mean, it might not end up very well for them if the market crashes, which would be very, very unfair. But again, there's a lot more money in the money supply out there than there was 12 months ago, 40%. So technically, everything should go up 40% in cost when you add all of this new money into the money supply. So, but of course, we're giving billions of that away to other countries instead of taking care of our own here. So that's it.
There he goes. He's preaching. See, he's on his milk box. That's it. I love it. But it is true. It's all in your mindset. So you're going to create the market in your mind. The market is what it is. We can't control the market. Bobby can't control it unless he runs out of hair dye. That's the only time he's going to control it. And the thing is that you have to understand the data, and you have to advise and guide people. You need to be in control of your buyers and sellers. You can't let the buyers and sellers control you. That's the big thing is, then you have buyers saying, oh, well, they're asking, $1 million for this house. I want to start off at 700,000. You have to educate them and really advise them instead of just writing it out. And I think that's a lot of agents are going into the role of being order takers, not advisors, and not using data and really educating people on where the market's trending to and where it's going, because each market has different sectors. So I want to go for Bobby. I'm going to go over to Brian Yarber. He didn't get a lot of time last week on scripts and objection handling in this marketplace. He just came back in from fly fishing. There he is. He's ready to go.
I'm ready.
Brian, how many fish did you catch?
The stringer's full.
All right. I like it.
Yeah.
So in this market right now,
yeah,
if you were a newer agent, what would you advise them to do?
Perfect. First of all, I would advise them to watch last week's video, because we started out last week with scripts and we had specific script techniques being handed out like gold nuggets from Carlos and from Mitch and from Bobby and from Greg and everybody who was on that call, Matt. So the specific scripts are ones you need to practice on your way into something very specific. But I'm going to hand out some timeless scripts, ones that if they're not in your foundation, if they're not a part of your DNA, then what's going to happen is you're going to shotgun scripts based upon what you perceive. Like Mitch was saying, he thinks rates are going this way. Bobby says, no, that's shit. So scripts need to be foundational, right? So I'm going to give timeless scripts that are foundational. All right. So there's over 80 people on here. I don't know what levels. We have some that have 25 years and some that have 2 weeks. So I'm going to give these away in such a way that you can own them and use them. Okay. If you're in sales, you've got to have scripts. You're speaking scripts. Most of us had a mentor. We all didn't just start out on our own, knocking on our first door going, how much can you afford? Or how much you want for your house? Right? We had to come in specifically with scripts. So I wrote 3 of the most important scripts down that I think are foundational. They're timeless, and they have nothing to do with the real estate market we're in today. Because guess what? The market is never ready. You have to be ready for the market, right? So if you think about that, if the market's going up, you got to be ready for what's going up. If it's going down, you got to be ready for what's going down. So all of us have this question right now. We've talked about this before. I shared this one, but if you're a newer agent right now and you're struggling with an answer, I can tell you the script that you answer this question with is either going to make you money and create a business opportunity, or you're going to lose an opportunity because you made up an answer that conflicts with the perception of the person you're talking to. So if somebody's in a short sale market and you come in and say the market's amazing, there's going to be a disconnect between you and that person because they're having a bad experience. You're talking about this great thing. So how you handle that is this. How's the market? That question, how's the market? Since 2005, I have never answered that question any other way except for this. Well, that's a great question. And it really depends. What are you considering doing? Buying a home or selling a home? And I get quiet. Because they're either going to say we're looking to buy or we're looking to sell, or they're going to go down a path of buying or selling with me, or they might just say, oh, we're just curious. Okay. The buying side, we know how to go down that way. Good. Let's talk about what's going on for sellers. If it's a buyer, we're looking to buy, we can go down the buy side. But what if they just say we're just curious? You know, that's a great client opportunity to have in front of you, because now that's the type of opportunity you want to put in your bucket, because you're going to coach them on what it's like to be ready for the market. That's a different strategy. I'm doing malpractice on everybody if I try to interject my perception of what's going on if I don't understand what they're considering doing. Okay, so that's script number 1. Hands down, no better way, in my opinion. Easiest answer ever. Hey, that really depends. What are you guys thinking about doing? Thinking about buying a home or selling a home in this market? I get quiet. They let them talk, right? Nope. I let them know, hey, you know what? The market is never ready. Right now, the market seems to favor sellers in San Diego, seems to favor this, and maybe in Tennessee, it's favoring buyers still. I don't know. I would have to be aware of what my current market is, because all of us are in different markets. I know the San Diego market very well. The further east you go, it's like the tide. When the prices get soft, the tide goes out. People can buy at the beach. When it's super high, the tide goes in, and you got to go buy in, Alpine or Campo to get your money's worth. So be aware of that. Number 2, and Mitch said this last week, we can assume, and this is a script I'm going to get to, but I have to set the stage because Mitch, you did a great job with this, and thank you. You said, not are you working with an agent, which agent are you working with, right? And so what I learned again, all this in 2005, and a lot of my mentors are people we all know. I was very blessed to be in San Diego, and I worked alongside Brian Buffini when he was a realtor. I watched him do his thing as a realtor. I got to work with Mike Ferry. I got to work with Tom Ferry. I got to work with Kevin Ward. I got to work with Jared James now. Like I'm in this world of coaches, and I value everything they give me because it allows me to put more in here and marinate what's in there. So this other script was, why do I care who you're working with? Because I know that if you're working with Pete Middleton or Matt Battiata or anybody on this panel, that buyer is going to show up at my open house and say, hey, our agent, Pete Middleton, did he call you yet? And did he tell you we were on our way over? Yeah, Pete told me you're on your way over. Great. Let me show you the house. I told Pete I'd show you the house. That's a buyer who's working with an agent. They show up at an open house with a script ready for the greeter or the host to disarm them of anything that they want to do, because my agent, me in this case, I call every open house agent if I know they're going to be out, and I let them know my buyers are coming by. I can't be there. Okay. So the script is, though, if you walk into any environment, mainly open houses, somebody walks in and says, hey, we're working with an agent, right there, hands down, the only thing I've been saying for the last 20 years is, hey, great. How long have you guys been looking for a home? I don't really care. It's water on a duck's back. If you're looking for a home and you got an agent, you wouldn't be here and asking me questions. So I'm just going to assume that right now you're using an agent from 4 weeks ago who signed you up on some kind of a free list, and you're getting free property lists that meet your criteria, and you're just running around with a sheet in your paper that you're using that person as your agent, but you haven't interacted with them once since that previous open house. You're just using it to give me kryptonite like Superman because I'm going to leave you alone. I ain't leaving you alone. I'm going to help you. How long you been looking for a home? Have you seen any homes you've liked? Second question. Have you seen any homes you've liked? Geez, you're kidding. Did you make an offer on that, or what happened to that house? Well, and now they'll tell you the story about how their offer was not accepted. They were one of 12, and they're really frustrated. And I'd say something like, well, great. If a house like that were to come on the market again, would you want to know about it? We sell a lot of homes. One comes across my desk. Would you want to know about it? That question there is the ethical question that allows them to tell me, you know what, Brian, we'd really like you to let our agent know. Great. Who's your agent? Right? Now I can interact on it. I've gone 4 steps in. I guarantee you by step 3, they don't have an agent. They want to work with you. They want you to send them property. They want to know more about it. They want what you have. Don't do malpractice, though, in front of them. Use this opportunity to get them and say, hey, what's the easiest way to follow up with you? Have them give you what they want. And then after the open house or whatever you're doing, now you do the real estate stuff, the professional stuff, okay? So how long have you been looking for a home? If somebody walks in and says 2 years, I can now go, wow, I don't want to work that person. They must be difficult, right? They could be a difficult, but if they say, hey, we're 3 months in or 2 weeks in, hey, great, what are you looking for? Here's the second part of the question. Are you looking to invest in a house for security or for investment? So Pete was just talking about that. Security or investment. When you ask that, they're not going to know what that means. They're probably going to say, well, both. I'm going to say, yeah, but what's your dominant reason to invest right now? Are you looking for security or investment? If they don't know what that is, simply let them know, listen, security means you don't have an exit strategy. An exit strategy means you're going to hold this long-term, you're going to raise your kids, you're going to raise your families. This is your forever home, and tell you, find out later you're ready to go again. Investment means you do have an exit strategy. So are you looking to buy for security, for investment? That's a great question to ask anybody. Investment means you got an exit strategy, and you got to educate them on the exit strategy rule that Bobby was talking about. Those are the 3. I didn't want to go any further. That's a great question. Depends. Are you looking to buy or sell a home in this market? The market is never ready. You have to be ready for the market. Which direction are you going to go for security or investment? And how long have you been looking for a home? Have you seen any you liked? Geez, you're kidding. Tell me what happened to it. If they say, no, we haven't seen any you like, then you just use this script. And this script says, well, geez, share your wish list. What are you looking for? What price range works best for you, right? I sleep, like I said last week, I got hijacked by the gods in the cyber world, and we got shut down. But I was going to ask that question. I sleep really well at night because I'm very consistent with these scripts, because they're foundational and they're not situational. Mark it up, mark it down, does not matter. These are opportunity scripts that put another name in my bucket so I can start working the angle that I need to work with them. That's it.
Brian, I love it. Do you have those scripts that you can share a PDF or something with everybody on this call? Well, you muted yourself. You got to unmute.
Unmute yourself, Brian.
Sorry. Yeah, I can put them in. I have a whole converting leads script to appointments, and they're throughout it. So I gave them to you in a shotgun. So I'll just write them in and I'll put them in there.
Awesome. Love it. That was great stuff. I love the, situational and be consistent. And that's what everybody's going to learn. We got to go back to the basics, you guys. And it's all about tradecraft, because everybody's going to have a difference of opinion, and that's okay. Some people think the rates, as you said before, are going to 6.5, 7. Other people don't care. Some people say, well, if the rates go up, it's a good thing. It's normalizing the market. I think it's a healthy market. We're in the top 3 in the universe, right? Food, water, shelter. It's not food, water, shelter, Tesla. It's not food, water, shelter, Apple. It's food, water, shelter. That's what people need to live. So they're going to live somewhere. You have to find the people that are sick of renting and flushing their money down the toilet and not getting any tax breaks, who are, smart enough to really look at it and say, all right, let's stop bouncing around from rental to rental and have our rent jacked up. Because how many people on this call, show of hands, think rents are going to go up before the end of the year? So why wouldn't you buy? Matt Battiato was a little, I didn't see his hand go up right off the bat, but he's not bragging. He's applying for a job. Matt, what are you seeing when buyers say to you, I'm just going to wait it out? I know more short sales are coming, more foreclosures, people are getting in trouble. What do you say to that?
Well, from the buy side, I tell them my general approach with buyers is that interest rates are going up, and that's going to have more of an impact on values in San Diego, at least in our market, than what the market's doing. I mean, I let everybody know that if you want to, on the buy side, if you're going to plan to be in your home long term, it really doesn't matter. I just drew something that I show at every listing appointment. I don't know if you guys can see that. And it's basically just a graph that shows the last about 50 years of real estate, 40 years of real estate in San Diego. And you can see that we have these peaks and valleys over, and this is probably nationwide generally. It might be more pronounced here in San Diego. But the big thing that I tell them is, look, real estate goes in cycles. I think we're going into a downturn because, real estate's all based on demographics. And we have right now, before the pandemic, we had a lot of baby boomers who were all, it seemed like every call I got to sell somebody's home was, our kids are grown. We don't need this big house. We want to downsize. We want to travel, et cetera. And the pandemic changed that for 3 or 4 years because everybody wanted to hunker down and stay put and so forth. But now that, again, this graph at the top, I wrote capitalize on the current market. And you can see we do these peaks and valleys and peaks and valleys. We're on a really long run up right now because of COVID. We were due for a correction I believe in about 2019. And the pandemic changed that, obviously. But now when all the baby boomers out there, which are still the biggest segment of home ownership, as far as, the baby boomers are what they refer to as the pig and the python, right? That's the biggest segment of our population as far as home ownership goes. And so I think they're all going to be putting their homes on the market, which is why we're going to see inventory go up. But the bottom line is, for buyers, if you're going to be in the house long term, we know interest rates are going up. So if you can find the right house, you need a place to live. And as you guys mentioned, rents are always going to keep going up. And then for sellers, the big thing with sellers, we still are going to have relatively low inventory, for the foreseeable future. And buyers need something to buy. So I think that you still want to focus on listings. The key is you have to take the listings at a competitive price, and those homes are still going to sell. So the worst thing you can do in this market is take an overpriced listing, because you're just going to frustrate yourself and frustrate your sellers. You've got to have that difficult conversation with a seller and say, look, if you want to sell your house, it takes more time than just going in and saying, we'll list it at whatever you want and see what happens. And so you can there's something we have on our MLS called InfoSparks that shows the inventory. And a lot of people have that, I think, through their MLSs. It shows the number of homes on the market and shows a graph and so forth. Whenever I go on the news, I always use InfoSparks and show inventory. But, I always tell sellers, look, it's hard. It's hard to be a smart seller in this market. And it takes guts to really price your home where it needs to be priced. But it's the smart move. And what I often say, because a lot of times they're going to have other agents who've come over on a listing appointment and told them what they wanted to hear in order to get a listing. And that's called buying a listing, telling the seller what they want to hear, even though it's not true. And so I say, look, you didn't have me over here to lie to you. You had me over here to tell you the truth. And if you want to sell this house and you don't want to sit here for months and chase the market down, we got to price it at this price. And it does take extra time and extra effort. And most agents will go in and buy the listing. And just very briefly, what I say, the average agent here in our market sells 5, 6, 7 homes a year at the most. That means your listing represents like 20% of their annual income. So they're going to come in here and say anything to get your listing, including telling you whatever you want to hear about the value. They're going to tell you that your house is worth $1 million, even though it's not. And then they're going to come back to you in 2 or 3 weeks and tell you, gee, I don't know what's happened. The market's changing. And then you're going to be chasing the market down and you're going to be dropping the price and you will have lost your momentum. So you got to just be honest with sellers. And sometimes you may not get the listing over that, but it's better than taking a listing at too high of a price and having to drop the price later. Selling real estate, another good scripted line is selling real estate is a sprint. It's not a marathon. So the worst thing we can do is put the house on the market at an overpriced price and have it sit and then have to drop it and drop it and drop it. You got to be smart and you got to have the guts to price it where it needs to be priced when we go on the market. And, if you have that very direct conversation with a seller, you'd be surprised a lot of times that really resonates with them because they feel you're telling them the truth when everybody else is bullshitting them, and you'll get the listing and you'll get it at the right price.
Maddie, so let's just role play that real quick. I'm the seller. You're Matt Battiata. You're not bragging. You're applying for a job in my living room. And I say, well, Matt, I interviewed 3 other really high qualified agents in the area who do sell a lot of houses. And the last agent who just came in before you told me I could get 100 grand more. So what do you think about that?
I'm Pete, I'm not surprised that they would tell you that. And I'm sure that they're all telling you that. And they're telling you that because they know that's exactly what you want to hear. They know that you're interviewing 3 or 4 or 5 agents. And they know that if you tell them that if they tell you that your house is only worth X amount, less than everybody else, you're not going to like them very much. But you got to go back to what we looked at. And then I'd go back to the comps and I'd go back to interest rates and I'd go back to inventory. And I'd say, listen, I would love for you to get 1.2 million for the house, but I'm telling you right now, it's not going to happen. And if you go on the market at that price, you're going to frustrate yourself and you're going to end up dropping the price. You're going to end up getting less. So you just got to go back and forth with people. I don't think you need any fancy script. You also have to hit on their pain and their pleasure points, right? How are you going to feel if 30 days from now we're on the market and we're having this conversation about why isn't the house selling and a bunch of your neighbors have come on the market and we're sitting there dead in the water? So you just have to go back and forth and just be really brutally honest with them. And really, that really does, you'd really be surprised that resonates with people.
Yeah, I like that. That was great because, listen, guys, the one thing Matt did there, and I don't know if you guys saw the NLP type of aspect of it, but he didn't fight them on it. He went with the wave. He said, I know exactly how you feel, right? He got on their side and basically said, a lot of people are going to say what you want to hear because otherwise you'll be disappointed with them and you'll shut down and not hire them, right? But this is the truth. And a lot of times what I try to do is I say, look, let's look at the facts. Let's look at the housing that is sold prior to yours, because that is really dictating where the market's going. And guess what? All the consumers can see it anytime they want. So if the roles were reversed and you were the realtor and I was the seller, what would you suggest to me? Would you tell me the truth or would you exaggerate? So when you exaggerate and you pump up prices, it doesn't get you to where you want to go. Every time I check, that it doesn't happen that way. So I think you just got to get on their side, right, Matt?
Yeah. The other thing is what you're going to start seeing in neighborhoods. And then, as far as the comps go, is you're going to start to see other homes that are on the market that are sitting. So it's not necessarily what has sold before, right? Because those are going to be really high comps from the last 90 days or 6 months. You're going to start to see other homes in the neighborhood that are have been on the market for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and that are sitting. And what I always tell them is, look, they've been on the market for 30 or 40 days. They're going to drop that price, right? And they still haven't even sold yet. So we've got to come on the market. When you're a buyer, what do you want to go out and look at? And what do you want to make offers on? The stuff that's a deal. We've got to position your house as a deal. And remember, look how much your house has gone up in the last 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, you're really not leaving. If we price it competitively, it's still a dream price for you, right? You got it. People are just greedy, So it's just human nature. You know, what's that saying? Pigs get fed and hogs get I forget.
Hogs get slaughtered.
Yeah. So you just got to be brutally honest. The days of going into a listing and saying, well, you know, we can.
Told me it takes a lot of guts.
It does though.
I agree. I want to go from Matt to Cameron. Cameron was bouncing around. He had thumbs going up. His head was bobbing. He looked like a real life bobblehead when you were talking, Matt. He was so fired up. Look, he's got a tan going. He went to Costco. He got some sunscreen. He's all set to go. Cam, so I think in your market, you probably experienced that too. And I know Matt kind of spoke about this, but I also want to address it, right? The consumers are behind the market, and you can't blame them because the mass media that Bobby loves and the machine behind it loves to give data and stats from 3-4 months ago. We all know 3 or 4 months ago, rates were at 2.5%, 3%. Now they're at, I think this morning it was 5.23 was the average rate, and it's continuing to go up. So you can't really compare the two markets because they're completely competitively. So you're telling them the truth, so it'll sell.
Yep, that's the hardest. When we get into these downturning markets, these expired markets, it's actually easier once they've expired once because they already feel like the agent has lied to them and you play off that. But in a downturning market like this, when you have agents that are going in trying to compete for their 25% of income that year, that'll tell them anything. You got to go with data. You got to go with analytics. Of course, you bring all the comps, and we just go back to the basics, you guys. We go through a CMA. Answered their question on where pricing will be. Now, with that said, we all know that you can lead a horse to water and say drink, and they'll look at you like, you know, I'm not thirsty, even though they're dying of thirst. And they'll say, oh, I understand that the price should be this, but this agent told me that they can get us more. The easiest way is, again, like you said, well, they say, well, I've been interviewing other agents. I know all the top agents in the area. Who is that? Right? And they'll say, so, oh, I don't know them. And then you just move on. Again, that just places doubt, right? This is part of our you guys have touched on, and this is a last resort. So I don't ever want you guys to go in with this, but a last resort is if they are not going to list it with you and they're going to list it with somebody higher, you can always take the listing and have a pre-signed price reduction at the time of the listing. You will know going in with your pre-qualification scripts if they're interviewing other agents, what price they're targeting, all of these important questions that should give you ammo and allow you to prepare for these questions before you even higher price listings and they won't sell. That's just part of the game. You don't want to take up the time that you have working with sellers that are unrealistic, right? If they say they need to get 800 and it's only worth 700, go find another seller. So just to touch on the seller point, that's really the thing. Find motivated sellers, find their motivation, find their pain points, give them the analytical data, and then, be flexible with them. If they say, I'll take it at 750, but you really know it's going to sell at when you go in and you do these presentations, it's one of the first things I ask when I sit down, or I tell them actually, is, we have two objectives today. Decide if you want to hire me, which by the time I'm there, usually they already do. And then what price are we going to price the home at to get it sold? So you obviously handle hiring you first. Once they decide to hire you, then you work on price and you can work that way. I want to go into a little bit buyers because we are going into a buyer's market, at least here in Southwest Florida. It's very important you guys and they're motivated. In a downturning market, most buyers are going to be waiting. They're going to see what the market does, and that's okay. It's okay to have a buyer in your CRM for 6 months because you're not actively working them. You're sending them listings. When they're ready, they'll reach back out to you, but you are targeting buyers that are buying in the next 30 to 60 days. All of my buyers right now, I'm saying, hey guys, we're watching the market, be ready, have all your financials in order, have all your corporations in order, be ready to move, but we're going to keep watching it. And then just like today, I have a buyer that's buying a lead gen systems in place that are producing good leads. You need to then start finding the ready, willing, and able buyers in this market. The other thing is, you guys, is that every market's different. So make sure that the scripts and the questions that you're asking reflect to your market. Something that I've noticed, because obviously Bobby and Mitch, we're all in different areas. The scripts sometimes don't work as, they don't click as well. So make sure that you are making the scripts your own and making them work for you. When are you moving down, or what is your motivation that's bringing you down? Why do you need to be here right now? And those two questions tell you everything you need to know about this client. It takes 15 seconds, but you conversate with them. It'll take a 5 to 10 minute talk because you are building rapport. Remember, when you're talking with buyers, you are building rapport. You're not only educating them, but you're allowing them to choose you as their realtor because you're helping them and you're going along with the things that they're saying because your job is to help them get what they want. I want to do a role play.
Agent on the house down near Ocean Drive.
I am, yes, absolutely. Let me hold up 1 second. I'm just pulling it up on my computer here, so I have all the info. Oh, and what was your name?
My name's Pete.
Hey, Pete, Cameron Smith. Thanks for calling me, buddy. So tell me, you're down. Are you in front of that home right now, or are you just looking at it online?
No, I'm just looking at it online. I'm considering buying a house like that. I want to be near the ocean.
Oh yeah, me too. I love it. It's beautiful down here. Where are you from?
From California.
California. Ooh. Hey, I'm working with a ton of clients from California. I get why you're moving. What are you looking for? I know you've seen that home we're looking for. That one's listed, and I give them the price real quick. What are you looking for? And then I just shut up.
Yeah, I usually say, well, I'm looking for something that I can buy and use when I want, and when I'm not using it, I can rent it and use it as an investment.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is about 60 to 70% of all my clients. I'm an expert with short-term rentals down here. I know exactly where you want to look. Now, one quick question. And it gives us a great advantage for purchasing. So that's wonderful and that's great. Now we will need a proof of funds. Is that a problem for you?
No, not an issue.
Yeah, no big deal. Most money, no. Okay, great. So that home is in this area, and then I would go into getting a search criteria and so forth. But I need to know, are you paying cash? Where are you from? Build rapport real quick. Hey, I got a lot of clients from California. I know whatever their story is, you relate with it. And just within 5 minutes, that conversation will always end like, Cam, it sounds great. You sound like the guy to about this, guys, and I didn't bring this up because we were talking about sellers, is you want to do the video before you call them. You want to do that pre-qual before you get to them, so they know what you look like, they know who they're calling, because a text message shows up your cell phone number, right? So they'll know, oh, that's the guy that just sent me that text message. He's a realtor. I was just on his website. They might even have seen your face or played the video for a few seconds, but it's boom, boom, boom. You're in their face. They're answering their calls. You find out what their goals. Get them in your CRM so that they're constantly being dripped, and then obviously follow up with them as time permits. So a couple more things.
The other big question, I just want to add to what Cam's saying, you guys. The other big question that you have to establish is, what is your perfect timeline to be here?
Yes.
All right, because the big thing is you want to understand people's timelines. They may not always just come out up front and say, oh, I have no timeline. They all have a timeline. Yep. They're looking to be there by the fall, or they're looking to be there in the next 30.
For most of your clients, they are looking for you for education. What you tell them is the truth, and that is the only truth. Now, this only relates to clients that are referrals, past clients, active buyers. Raw leads, obviously, it's a little bit different, and you have to show more data. But to have an opinion that you give people that is strong, you need to have accurate opinions. So you need to spend time, and I'm talking about maybe the younger agents, you need to spend time not only in your MLS getting data and figuring out what the market's actually doing and having an educated opinion that because that allows you to be the knowledge. You are the expert. You are showing that. You have to be the expert before you can pretend to be the expert, right? Yeah, that's it, you guys. I hope, sorry for taking up so much time, but those are my big tips.
It's a very, very important topic because it's relevant in today's market that people can use every single day. And you guys, we can go on and on. We'll have part 3 of this next week, but I wanted to get to Gil DeMarco. She does luxury up in Sacramento. So if you guys have any referrals going towards Sacramento, about buying in the bubble or selling and not getting the money they thought they could get 60 days ago. How are you guiding these people and advising them? You have to unmute.
Okay, so it's interesting because, my gosh, first of all, thank you, Cameron. Thank you, Bobby. I mean, I'm learning so much from you guys. And then I'm getting probably more out of this than I'm going to get. I'm at a listing appointment. I don't even pull out a CMA, right? It's really what comes out of my mouth and our eye contact and my body posture. If they fight back, of course, then I go. I very rarely even have to resort to that. Like Cameron just said, be the expert, right? Be the expert doesn't mean you have to have a big fancy listing presentation, although we do. And look at the HPI. I was shocked this morning. It was, as far as appreciation goes, I believe Arizona, and then it was Las Vegas, and then San Diego with the most, like 29, 27, and 26 appreciation. If you look at LA, it's 16%. So here in Sacramento, it's lower than 16%. We are so different. Right? All of these stocks. So when people say that their market isn't being impacted, so those people that are getting the millennials buying their homes that are 27 square feet for $2 million that are 30 years old that need a complete remodel. Last week, there was over 400 price reductions in the Bay Area, Santa Clara County. So I don't pussyfoot around anything. I just come in direct, and like I make the room vibrate when I'm in there, because what I want to say is like being at church with me. I'm telling you the gospel because I want to share. I believe, I'm passionate. You don't have to drink the Kool-Aid, because at the end of the day, I'll bring church with me, people to church with me. And the narrative has completely changed, right? So it's really changing us. Like I was negotiating offers, Tuesday, actually yesterday and Tuesday, because what's happening? My sellers are sitting, waiting, going, I want more. We've seen so much greed up here, right? Because these buyers come up here like drunken sailors and they're like, I'll take that, dead body, mold, I don't care, I'll buy it. Now it's like, wait a minute. You didn't do, like I actually just sold my own house and I completely forgot to do the sewer inspection. So things like that, we're seeing people with requests for repairs. We're seeing, so you have to be really prepared. I never ever go on the market unless I have a roof, a pool, usually a sewer, if there's a septic, a well. I'm completely prepared. So then I take those inspections and I turn them into a marketing piece. So I'm like, here's what you're putting your offer on, write it, because if you look at any of my stuff, you will never ever see a price reduction. We don't ever give credit for, things that are unknown, like, hey, before this market went crazy, we'd say $5,000 credit card, carpet for credit, all kinds of stuff like that. So when I'm at a listing appointment, I love when they tell me, who I'm going against. So I'm like, hey, are you interviewing any other agents? And sometimes they'll say, well, I'd rather not say. I'm like, really? I said, because just like I bought the CMA for your house, I actually have everybody's report card. Would you like to see mine? I'd like to share with you whoever else. And you just tell me the name, I'll look it up, you give me the phone, and then you can delete it. And that works like a freaking charm. So I'm like, hey, as a matter of fact, that agent has never really sold in this neighborhood. I'm a little bit different. I will say that I am very, very hyper focused. I don't ever go to a listing unless it's 15 minutes or less away from my house. I'm very, very, so this way I get market share. I'm not one of those agents, I'll take a listing here, I'll drive an hour there, I'll go 30 minutes there. People know who I am in my area. I only sell in school districts that are number 10s. That's why the house I bought in Florida is number 10, right? Because I always want to purchase or bring my clients' investments in homes with good school districts. So this way I can always get top dollar, even when we're facing a market like this. So one thing I do want to talk about, because all you guys had such great stuff, and I don't want to repeat what you've said because everything is resonating with me as far as on the listing side. I want to talk about how can we get some leads right now, what I'm doing to get some leads, right? Because what's happening? We have lazy agents. Some of them are, the ones that are on this call are not my lazy agents. I have some of my agents on this call, but I will tell you, I have 3 offices and I could roll a bowling ball, right? Why am I the only one that's ever here at 8 o'clock in the morning or 8:30, besides Gabe Jackson, who's on this call? And it's frustrating because like somebody said on this call, we can lead a horse, whether it's our seller or our agents, to water, but we can't make them drink, right? What we need to do is make them thirsty, right? Really, that's the key. So I'm trying to get creative because I have agents coming to me going, hey, can I have your open house? Or, what's going, how come I get the shitty open houses? Well, I'm like, you're still on this team. So, or Zillow leads. Well, I'll tell you what, I have somebody in my organization spending $75,000 a month on Zillow leads. They're asking me, hey, and I keep telling him, drop it. You know what I told him? I said, if you don't start marketing your people, I'm going to go after your buyers because I'm a Mike Ferry trained agent. And the Adopt the Buyer program, love that, right? Love that. So most of these people, if you look on Zillow, look at who's spending the most amount of money. I promise you, not one of them are marketing to their clients that they sold. Then I go to my title rep and I go, give me a list of every home that they've sold in the last 2 years. And then we start adopting the buyer, right? So we're fishing out to them. So here's one, because I'm an EXP agent, I'm also into agent attraction, right? So, and I try to always keep my lanes pretty darn equal. So last weekend, I was at my mom's house and just got home from church. I had my jeans on, half of my war paint, and drove by an open house. But I wanted to go home because I wanted to get stuff done. But I pulled over and I'm like, oh, I know that agent. Had a great conversation, went in there. Then I went to a second open house and had a great conversation with an agent I didn't know. And then I said, what the hell? I might as well door knock. I'm here. So I started door knocking. And it was like, so here was my script, you know, because there's always scripts, but somebody on this, I believe it was Cameron said, or Brian, hey, make it your own, right? You have to really personalize it, make it your own. So I knocked on, you know, I pulled my car up so that in case the agent saw, I don't want them to see me door knocking their open house. Well, why does it have to be my open house? So I knocked on the third door and I'm like, hey, you know, I'm Gail DeMarco. You know, I'm a local realtor. I just showed my buyers that house, you know, right down the street. And it's just not a good fit for them. I promised them I would door knock the entire street because they've got friends and relatives that live in this neighborhood. Have you thought about selling? Well, guess where I'm going today at my 3:00 appointment. And so these are great opportunities because people are like, well, how much is that listed for? It's like $1,250,000, isn't it? It's crazy. And then I'll say, always positive. They'll probably get it. There's a buyer for everybody's house, right? Rather than, hey, they're overpriced. Well, they were so overpriced, right? But guess what? At that house, there was an agent, you know, from a company called Lion, and there was a lender. And lenders, I love running into lenders because they're like, I mean, they want to do business with you, right? So it became like crack. So then all of a sudden my husband's calling me, like, I'll be home soon. 2 more open houses. So, and then I went to the neighborhoods where I work and started walking. Guess what? They're dead. These open houses are dead. It's great for agent attraction. I made 4 appointments for agents to meet with me. I had my Calendly link completely set up. Bam, they send it to me. I send it to them. And I had a text. I was telling my coach, Randy Bird, I go, Randy, look, they're asking to meet with me. I love it. So this is a great opportunity for that. What I do the first quarter for
Gail, I got to stop you there. We're about to run out of time. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to get to Dennis, Betty,
got it.
Lurch, and Gail next week. We're going to continue this. Gail, you're going to start off. All right. And we're going to go from there. So everybody write down the best methods, opportunities, scripts, objection handling, and best ways to convert leads right now. Conversion is the key to this whole market. And let's start off there next week because right now we're 9 minutes over. It's great stuff, but we have to shut it down and we'll start it up on part 3 next week. Cameron, you look great. Make sure you keep putting on that sunscreen. Brian, awesome stuff today. Dennis, we'll get to you next week. Maddie, great job. Betty, you look fantastic. We'll get to you next week. Bobby, you look as good as ever as usual. And Gail, I wanted to thank you for jumping on. You guys, she didn't even know she was going to be a panelist. I put her on the spot, but pros are pros and pros are prepared and pros know how to convert in any situation. That's Gail DeMarco. So let's pick it up next week. 9 a.m. We're going to do script, objection handling, and lead gen part 3, part 12. All right. For all you French people out there. All right. Everybody have a great week. Thanks so much.
Amazing. Thank you, guys.